This is personal. 327 Federal Magnum Federal HST. I've been waiting a long time for this round. They introduced this round. Federal introduced this about 16 months ago. It wasn't until just a few days ago that it became available, and I grabbed some because, as many of you might know, my personal carry choice is a 327 Federal Magnum revolver, a Ruger LCR. And I actually had a supporter of the channel give that to me a few years ago, named Ken. He's a retired law enforcement, and I still appreciate that. And since then, I've actually put on a little bit bigger grip. It's interesting though, this is for the 3-inch revolver, for the 3-inch LCR. I put it on here even though I pocket carry this thing. So the reason why this is my choice as my personal carry weapon is because it is 6 shots of 327 Federal Magnum, which is more powerful than 38 Special, but less recoil than 357 Magnum. It kind of splits that difference and gives you something that's really controllable with a lot of extra power and one more extra round. So our Federal HST here, it is a 104 grain. I'm really excited about this. You know, you don't oftentimes get ammo like this for revolvers where you have sealed primers and you have mechanically bonded bullets. They're really meant more for defeating barriers and whatnot. So I believe this stuff is rated at 1,500 feet per second, but I think that's through like a 4 or 5 inch barrel. And this 104 grains. So pretty good weight. That's a good balance of weight there. So I am going to test this stuff and see what we get on our Ruger LCR. I'm really excited to see because it matters to me personally, because this is going to be my new carry ammo if it performs well. So a lot of the tests I do for a lot of other people, a lot of other calibers, but this one's for me. So we are going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. And since this is not a comparison like I normally like to do, I'm going to do 2 shots into the plain clear ballistics for our best potential, see what the best possible potential is of these cartridges for expansion, penetration, damage, all of that. And after that, I'm going to put a couple shots in here with my real world simulation, where I have 4 layers of t-shirt. That's more realistic. We have 3 inches of clear ballistics to represent hitting our pectoral muscle. Clear ballistics is roughly half as dense as human flesh, so this is kind of like an 1.5 inch pectoral muscle. And then after that, we have a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard, represents hitting our ribs or sternum, and that's more of our real world simulation. We'll see how the ammo does that way. We have a pretty good idea of what we want to see when, you know, typical FBI specs are at least 12 inches of penetration, at least 1.5 times expansion. I'd like to see 15 to 20 inches of penetration with expansion though, so I'm hoping to see that. And then I'm going to shoot up my steel silhouette from various distances. I think I'll start up close because this is actually a test of ammo that's going to be my carry ammo if it works out right. And I'll back up a little bit, see if we can continue on with some practical accuracy. So let's get started with this test. All right, so I carry this thing in a pocket holster. This DeSantis, I think it's called the Nemesis. I've bought it 7 years ago and I've never got another pocket holster. It simply works and it fits everything that's in J-frame size. So this is how I carry this gun all the time when I'm filming, when I go to town, whatever. So let's see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get. And it is rated at 1,500 feet per second. So let's see how close we get to that in this 1.875 inch barrel, about 5 yards from the target, 4 yards from the chronograph. Ooh, got a lot of recoil. 1290, 1288. I pulled that one. This is a lot snappier than a lot of the rounds I fired through this. 1279, 1299. All right, 1285. My accuracy on that is absolutely terrible. It's probably just me. I haven't fired a full house 327 Federal in quite some time, but our velocity is very consistent, and I mixed up those 2 boxes I had in the cylinder, so very consistent velocity. My accuracy will improve now that I'm used to it, but let's see what we get for case ejection. Ah, beautiful case ejection. That's not typical for rounds like these. A lot of times 327 sticks bad, so these came out without even a push. That's good. Let me hit our ballistic gel block and see what we get. All right, I'm going to do our best potential, just plain clear ballistics. A couple shots of this into there. So let's see how this does. Let's take a look. All right, so a little bit easier to shoot now that I kind of know how that shoots. This is looking really good. There's a little bit of difference in what we're seeing for penetration. A lot of damage going on, and we definitely have really big expansion from what I can tell. Our first shot, we penetrated to 14.5 inches. That's totally acceptable. Our second shot, we penetrated to about 16 to 16.25 inches of penetration. Both have really big expansion. Both did a lot of damage. It's looking good so far. Now, let's put on our fabric on the front of here. That's gonna potentially clog a hollow point. After 3 inches of clear ballistics, we'll have a 1/4 inch MDF to represent ribs or sternum. We'll see how it compares that way. All right, shot one with our denim and MDF. See it does. Let's hit it again. All right, one more time. Let's go take a look. All right, both times I blew this first piece off here. That's not typical. Generally that happens when we have a lot of smack against the MDF, or rib simulation. A couple shots through denim here. What we can see here, very consistent. Looks like right here is our first shot down here. And it looks like we have a little bit less expansion before it hit this. And our second shot looks like we had a little bit more expansion before we hit this. And that kind of shows here on what we're seeing for penetration. Both of them have very straight line penetration. That's good. And that's something you typically only see with bullets that are bonded in some way. These are mechanically bonded, not actually quote unquote bonded. They're mechanically held together. And what that does is it keeps that jacket on so that instead of starting to lose momentum and start to tumble or something and that jacket falls off, it stays on. So that first shot there, we have a little bit more penetration than what I really truly want, but 20.5 inches almost. Good expansion, definitely good expansion. And that to me is not even over penetration, because clear ballistics is less dense than an organic gel. So when we're talking like, you know, that 12 to 18 inch mark that the FBI sets, they're setting that in organic gel, which penetrates less. So when you're looking at something like 21 inches, really that's more like 18 inches in an organic gel. And our second shot had a little bit bigger expansion, so we have a little bit more damage there. It's pulling all that MDF all the way up there. It's really dragging along. Good expansion. We're at about 17.5 inches. I would say that is absolutely textbook. You know, 4 shots, 3 of them perfect as far as the numbers go. 1 of them slightly more, but if we take into consideration this is clear gel and not real gel, I'm going to say this is about as perfect as you can get for a ballistic test, to be honest. Looks really good to me. So now let's see if I can clear up some of that terrible accuracy I did on paper. I was kind of nervous to shoot that today. I haven't, you know, I've been waiting for this for 16 months. But now that I know what it feels like, let me shoot the steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get. All right, 12 yards from the target. I'm gonna put this in my pocket holster. I'm gonna pull this out of the pocket, how I might normally draw if I had to use it in self-defense. 12 yards from the target. Try to place a few on target, see how it looks. Ooh, that's not good. I need to practice. All right, let me do it again. All right, so for me, it's shooting a little bit to the left and low, but that's just, you know, trying to squirm my hand onto this gun and get a good grip on it. Let me actually shoot a little bit better, where I'm focusing more on my sights from 25 yards. See how it does from there. All right, 25 yards from the target. That first thing was my mistake where I missed. Now I'm gonna do the everyman thing, just get a sight alignment. and actually review the ammo accuracy. So let's see what I can get here. Alright, for some reason I pulled one. Let me focus a little better and try to get a headshot. So I just have to get used to this ammo. Let me fire a few more from 75, see if I can hit the target, and we'll wrap up this review. If you ever wondered, I did map out all these yard distances a couple of years ago. So when I quote it, I'm standing at my markers. All right, 75 yards from the target. You know, I always like to see if I can make hits from this distance. You know, it's important to me just to kind of see how an ammo that I'm going to carry is going to perform. And I just want to see if I can make a hit 75 yards. I'm going to try to go slow here. A little bit to the right. Oh, I thought I had that. All right, from what I'm seeing on paper, what I'm seeing on the steel, what I'm seeing in practical shooting is that it does seem like out of this gun, the consistency isn't incredibly great as far as accuracy. It could just be me. And the reason why I think it could be me is this had probably a little more recoil or as much recoil as the Spear Gold Dot, even though it had not quite as much energy as the Gold Dot. So it is interesting that it is a very high recoiling round, but that kind of makes sense because 104 grain at the pressures it's going up, it's going to make that muzzle jump quite a bit. So it has a lot of recoil. I am noticing that. So I can't say for certain whether this ammo is so hot that it's not super accurate out of this revolver or if it's just me. What I can say though is that when we look at the ballistic test, this was pretty much textbook. It did very well. You know, it did as well as what you might see out of like a full-size 9mm pistol, where you're getting really good penetration, you're getting expansion every time with something like an HST 9mm, something like that. Maybe even a little bit better because the velocity on this kind of aids and stuff. Like sometimes when things get in the way, like denim, stuff like that, sometimes if you're not at these type of velocities, it doesn't always expand, but at these velocities it seems to overcome that. So I'm going to say our ballistic performance was very, very, very good. It's just that I wasn't able to shoot it super well. Could just be me, like I said, but that's what you get today. It seems like good ammo from what I can tell. It seems like one of the better 327s out there because a lot of the ammo I've been carrying has been like double tap, and most of that stuff is like at 250 foot-pounds energy. Very low recoil, and it does pretty well, but this pushes it over the edge where you have a lot more momentum. You have some heavy lead. It's going to penetrate very deeply, as where some of that stuff like the TAC XP type ammo I've been using, not so much. And you can get like Buffalo Bore with the XTP, that kind of under expands, but this seems to fill the role that pretty much only the Gold Dot has up until this point in 327. So it's another option instead of the Gold Dot. So between the two of those, I would say this looked like it did better because the expansion looked greater. Gold Dot only expanded to like 45 caliber. So judging by that, terminal ballistics wise, this is probably the best 327 I've seen to date. So that's what you get today with my review of this ammo and this little snubby. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.